Welcome to Tank Talk. I'm your host, Bob Tankard, and this evening's guest is Dr. Thelma M. Johnson. And Dr. Johnson is the president of the Martha's Vineyard branch of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Welcome to Tank Talk.
Thank you so much.
It was a great time the other day over at the American Legion Hall, the VFW. And I felt very impressed, and I felt the honor of those individuals that had actually gone before us, and some of those, and then all those other ones, that they were honored there as actually the first ones that came and been a part of Asalh. You know what I mean? It was really great. I really enjoyed that.
It was great to have charter members there.
Right.
The branch here was chartered August the 25th, 2002, with 19 residents here in the Vineyard. And
was Bob responsible for that?
Bob Hayden was
because I did a show with him back up about then, and it was about this.
Okay, he initiated the chartering of the Martha's Vineyard branch, and with him were 19 others, and I'll just mention the ones who were present with our Founders Day, which was September 9th at the VFW Club. And that was Vera Shorter, Marcy Jones, Dr. Basil Jones, Mildred Henderson, and Cheryl Neal, and Bob Hayden. They are still active today, and they're
Manny wasn't involved in? Manny?
Well, his name was not on the chartering, just his wife Cheryl.
Right.
So it was Vera,
yeah,
Marsha, Basil, Mildred, Cheryl, and Bob. Those 6 charter members were present, and they are still active members.
I remember doing a show about that time. I think I might have been still principal of the West Tisbury School when I did a show with Bob. In fact, I did a couple with him. And they had a demonstration up in the park in Oak Bluffs, right by the cottages place there. It was something there. Bob put on something at that time. This is back in 2001, 2002, something like that.
Okay.
You know, was about that time. So, Thelma, tell us a little bit about Thelma.
Well, I am a retired educator with experience pre-K through university. I've been retired for a number of years and been coming to the Vineyard for about 30 years. Okay. And I just recently accepted the leadership for the Martha's Vineyard branch. And I'm very happy about that, to see that we are a viable branch still. I think we have approximately 55 members.
You got
so
mine.
Give or take.
New one.
Great. We had at our Founders Day, September 9th, we had some renewals as well as some new. And I think, have you ever been a member of Asalh before?
No, I have never. You know, in fact, I've seen it and I've heard stuff about it, but I never experienced that. I never experienced it.
Well, that's so great.
But you know, one thing, I've always been sort of like a historian. I've always been an individual eager to find out more about the African American people in this country. You know what I mean? And to know the accomplishments. And I sort of feel a little discouraged, being in education myself over the years and being like a historian. I love history, to have to start digging and to finding out the accomplishments. When I was the principal of West Tisbury School, I had a gentleman come in, and I can't think of his name right now, but he presented to my faculty and staff the first 1,500 inventions by African Americans, okay, or first by African Americans. And many of the teachers that I had there were totally surprised and taken back, to the point where I had to buy probably 10 or 15 books to put into each classroom and to put into the library so they could do a study on it. But throughout history, that's been it, you know, late, you know, the late. Tell us where you came from.
I am a native of Florida.
Born and raised in Florida?
Partially. Okay. I lived there until I was in 6th grade, and I migrated to Chicago, where I finished grammar and high school. I attended Bethune-Cookman College. At that time, it was a college, now university, and matriculated at Indiana University and Southern Illinois Universities, where I received my master's from Indiana and a doctorate from Southern Illinois in Edwardsville, Illinois. And I am married. I have 2 beautiful sons who are gentlemen now. My son Brent, my son Dirk, and 2 fantastically beautiful, intelligent, smart grandsons, David, who's 8, and Daniel, who is 5. And he says he's 5 5/5 or something like that, because 4/5 because his birthday.
They get down to the wire.
5 4/5, I think he says. But anyway, so in my retirement, I came here every summer since we started 30 years ago. Anyway, this is my first, ending my first term as president of the Martha's Vineyard branch. And I tell you that, as you were saying, it opened up a new avenue of thinking more critically about African American history, such that I had been watching Skip Gates's program about your genealogy, and I did mine. And I said, all right, I remember from memory now that I am 45.7% Nigerian, 21.7 Sierra Leonean, and 13.5 Eurasian, I think is another. But I said, oh my goodness, it's kind of like good to know that. And my husband says, so what is it good for? I say, well, at least I know the origin of my beginnings.
I did the same thing with me, and the first time I did it was probably 25 years ago, and I did it, and they told me that I came from Northern Africa. My gene came down, it split. Half of it went to Australia, the other half went Northern Asia. Mine went to Northern Asia, and from Northern Asia it went to Russia, and then from Russia down. So I did it again this time. And 65%, and they had probably 5 different categories that I came from in Africa, or they showed up in Africa, 6 or 7. And then 32% was from Europe. Of the 32% from Europe, 17% came from British England. And the other percentage came from Ireland, Ireland, Scottish, Italian, Italy, and whatnot. 2% came from Asia, and then 1% was Native American.
Oh my.
You know what I mean? So you begin to say, okay, you know, you're all over the place.
Yes.
But at least you have an idea of where you came from. You know, when we talk about Asalh, what do you as president and the other members of the organization want to accomplish?
Well, we really, first of all, want people to be involved in finding out first about yourself.
Right.
I think that's important. Secondly, Carter G. Woodson, who was the founder, spent a lifetime making sure that while he was alive, people realized that color does not designate how intelligent you are or what your value is as an individual. And his mission was to disseminate the research, cultural, and heritage factors of African Americans so that it could be disseminated widely. And that is the mission we want to do here in Martha's Vineyard, to have individuals just have a pride in knowing that we have an organization that is 102 years old. Basically, the mission has not changed. We need to keep our own heritage alive, and if we kind of shirk that responsibility, how can we expect others to do so for us?
Well, let me ask you a question. You talk about that, and you're asking people, you want to do this. How can people learn more? What kind of information? Where can they go to learn more about this? Because unless you go online and you have a specific thing that you're looking for, That's the only way you're going to get the actual history. Years ago, when we grew up, our history books told us very little about the accomplishments of African Americans. Very little. You know what I mean? Especially if you went to your northern schools. If you went to your southern schools and your southern black schools, they gave you a lot more history about African American accomplishments, African American history than your northern schools did. The history books are not, you know, they weren't there. They weren't, other than talk a little bit about slavery and whatnot, Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, and maybe the ones later came with Harriet Tubman. There wasn't a lot, but then when you go back and look at the accomplishments, and you say, wow, you know, when you look at Banner in the developing the capital,
Washington, D.C.
You know what I mean? So
Benjamin Banneker, yes.
Right. Yeah, you know, you start looking at those things, you know.
Well, Asalh still has a mission to have the voices heard of our ancestry as well as contemporary issues. But you say, how can you, well, technology today makes it easier for you to find out about Asalh. Right. But in our branches, for an example, this 2017 theme is the crisis in black education. Okay. And you mentioned that the curriculum does not include a lot about not just African Americans, but other underrepresented numbers in our society. And our curriculum needs to be enriched and be inclusive of all ethnic groups and their contributions. And it
has to be truthful. See, yes, it just can't be inclusive. Yes. It has to be truthful. You know, for years, everybody walked around and was talking about how great the soldier out there, what was his name, that fought the Indians and everything, and got Custer, how great he was. But when you began to look, and people began to do research on Custer, Custer wasn't a good man. He wasn't a good soldier because many of the people that he killed were women and children. Okay. It wasn't that. So not only do you have to find out the history, but you have to have a truth.
I understand. Yeah. A truthful history is what infused in curriculum starting as from our elementary through our high school curriculum that gives the credits for, and to also unmask some of the things that were the inventions and patents that were earned by blacks and other represented group who have a white sponsor, and they get to be the name on the patent versus the person who actually did it. Right. So I think that there is room for that, and we have to have new ways of writing our curriculum that's truthful and on target for what we need. But if you want to become a member of Asalh, right now the technology helps you if you go to the new website, which is asalh.org. And you will find that throughout the United States, I did a little research today, we have 34 branches of Asalh, and from California all the way to Virginia. And currently, the Martha's Vineyard branch is the only branch that's in Massachusetts. Okay. But other states have many more. And I'm saying, if you want to do that now, you can go to, if you don't have a computer at home, go to the public library. And you can find out about the 4 branches and find out the kinds of things that they're doing. And coming up at the end of this month, which starts September 27th through October 1st, the 102nd annual conference will be held in Cincinnati. So that if you live in that area, or you want to become really more informed about the kinds of activities that are going on that really continues to research.
Are they going to have that on, maybe on television, on CNN, or not CNN, but SPAN or anything like that, C-SPAN?
There may be some live streaming, and I don't want to put that out because I'm not sure, but I do know that you will have very prominent authors and researchers who will be in attendance giving lectures and or presentations during that time. So that's a way to find out more about it. But if you go online and just go to asalh.org and hit membership and branches, and there you can join if you'd like, or if you're national, what the criteria is that you must be a member of the national organization before you are eligible
Right.
to be a member of a branch. So
Right.
that information is out there and available, and it's very concise, and the website is easy to access.
Now the Asalh is going to go in partnership with the Arthur's Vineyard Television and the Martha's Vineyard Regional High School to create a cooperative oral history project. Tell us a little bit about what that's going to be.
Oh, we are so excited about that. This is a new venture for the Martha's Vineyard branch, and we said earlier that one of the focus points for Asalh is to research, preserve, and talk about the life and history and culture of African Americans. Well, we're here in Martha's Vineyard. The history here is so rich.
It is.
Of the contributions made by African Americans on this island. And we thought, how do we get youth involved? As we were talking about earlier, this
Right.
is a segue into that. You says our
Exactly.
curriculum does not include
Exactly.
a lot of information. I believe in technology and all of its positive features. However, there is nothing, in my opinion, that supersedes what we are doing
That's
now,
right.
a face-to-face conversation.
Right.
Well, in the cooperative oral history project, we are matching one-to-one, one student that we call a student historian,
Right.
and a narrator is the person to be interviewed,
Right.
where they will get to know intimately one person and talk about this person's life and times. Specifically, we want to focus it on Martha's Vineyard because this is where we are to talk
Right.
about the programs that have here. We have 2 students from the high school who are going to participate this fall,
Right, right.
and we have currently 2 senior age citizens, and he's laughing because you are one of them. And it is a cooperative effort in that we are so happy that this community television station was just glad to have us have a program that uses youth.
Yeah.
We have the high school has a way that the students there will be doing what they call an independent study
Right.
to be a part of this program, and it's voluntary, so that we don't. It's not coercive, and we're just excited that it will not be a one-shot deal. We will hopefully have a minimum of 2 or 3 students per semester
Right.
from the high school working with one-to-one on an African American citizen.
We got about a minute and a half. During the summer, what are you going to offer the community in the summer as it pertains to Asalh?
Well, let's talk about what we did this summer because we're ahead of 2018.
Okay.
Our plans are not quite firm yet, but for the things that we do during the summer, first of all, let's go back to February.
Okay.
February, we had a Black History program
Right.
in collaboration
Right.
with the NAAC
Right,
branch
right,
here
right.
and the League of Women Voters.
Right.
We will continue that for 2018, I know.
Okay.
We will have what we call a black and white brunch, and it simply means that's the colors we'd like for you to wear. This past August 1st, we presented Professor Khalil Muhammad, who is the grandson of Elijah Muhammad, as our speaker for Asalh at Lola's. We intend to have another speaker, 2018, we have not determined yet. And one of the beautiful things this summer was we did passages at St. Augustine,
Right.
where we were able to look at the events that led up to the integration of St. Augustine
Okay.
and the 1964 civil rights legislation.
Right.
And we were able to present posthumously to Esther Burgess
Right.
and in person Mimi Jones, who were a part of that struggle to have these civil rights laws changed
Right.
there. We did that at the Strand Theater. We presented awards to them. And we had our first Founders Day in September. We intend to do that again in 2018. But what happens when you join Asalh is that we try to keep a portion of history, old and new, in the focus of our public, so that that's on the horizon for 2018.
You know, time flies. And this has been so interesting. I feel like I could sit here and go another hour of conversation, and there's so many questions. But first of all, you got to promise me that you'll come back.
I will if you invite me.
Oh, you're always invited, because you have an open invitation to come back
much.
and to finish our conversation.
Thank you
Okay?
so much.
I want to thank you for spending time in your busy day. Thank you, and hope your safe journey back to
Naples.
Naples will be a safe journey and not things out of context
Not
there
too
when you
much.
get back. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much.
And I want to thank you for tuning in to Tank Talk. And until next time, this is your host, Bob Tankard, saying good evening.